start this meeting. Call the meeting to order. Transportation Commission. Very happy to be here in Wasatch County and hosted by the county and their chambers here today. Very much appreciate the hospitality of the county and the city. We were over next door yesterday for our staff meeting and a nice tour of the area. Got out to see a lot of the infrastructure, especially road infrastructure in the region, and rail infrastructure in the region, and it was a great tour. So let's start the meeting. We generally will have a section here from some introductions and public comments in just a few minutes, but we always try to start with item 1, approval of the minutes.
I'll move approval of the floor and staff minutes of July 18th and the commission meeting minutes of July 19th.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments on this? Comments are correct. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, we'll have our new district Region 3 boss.
Director.
Larry Newell give us a presentation on some of the stuff we saw yesterday, but just the Region 3 presentation.
And fortunately for you guys, I won't give the presentation this morning, but I'm still getting up to speed. The learning curve is steep, trying to figure out how the region operates and the people and the roads and the issues. So Brent Schwanevelt's going to do that presentation, but I want to welcome you to Region 3. Appreciate your time and attention on the tour yesterday. We got to look at a lot of the projects that Region 3 is working on. So with that, I'm just going to hand it off to Brent Schwanevelt, who can do the formal presentation for you.
Okay, good morning. I'm going to do the presentation from over here. That's where I have the laptop hooked up. So I have a map up here of Region 3, and I'm going to focus in on some of our major construction projects that we have going on this year, and then also some of the projects that we have going up in this area. So the first project I want to highlight is our project that we have in South Utah County, which runs from Payson up to Spanish Fork. And this project is a design-build project where we are widening to the center. So you can see from this picture that we're widening to the center to add an additional lane each direction on I-15. So this is a $32 million project. It includes widening some of the bridges to be able to widen to the middle. And also we will be rehabbing the pavement for the entire width. So this will give us 3 lanes each direction, all the way down to Payson with a brand new pavement surfacing. Also there's a couple areas where we are installing noise walls where we have homes that are close to the freeway. Okay, the next project that I want to talk about going up is a project that we drove over on the tour yesterday. It's a project on State Street from North Orem down into Pleasant Grove. This project we are widening also to give us 3 lanes in each direction on State Street. I have a picture here of the TerraCap system that I talked about on the tour yesterday. So you can see here this is a cap. It's like almost like a concrete half culvert that is placed over the top of these utilities, which allows the utility company to protect the utilities. And also, if you can see there's extra space around the utilities for future capacity for utilities. This is a newer technology that is being used, the first one that we used in UDOT, and it has been a pretty good cost savings for the project. For both the utilities and UDOT. Not only in materials cost, but also in less disruption to the public for services. This is a CenturyLink line here, so it's the internet for a lot of people on telephone. So there's less disruption to the users of the company. And not only materials cost savings, but time cost savings from having to relocate these utilities. And we also got, we think we got a better bid on the project from the contractor, because he could see that this would save him time and would be less trouble. The strength of this tear cap is such that it can actually run rollers over the top of it. And it's also strong enough that we were comfortable having this come up into the bottom of our pavement section, into our granular borrow section. So I think you're gonna be seeing a lot more of this in the future. This project was a $6.5 million project and will be done this year. Most of the work is being done at night, and they're doing shoulder work during the day. So the next project I want to highlight is up here in Lehigh. Zoom in. On this project, we are rehabbing some of our bridges and replacing the joints on several of our bridges. So you can see here from this picture what it looks like, and one of the joints here you can see is one that we would be replacing. And at the same time, while they have the bridge uncovered with asphalt, they're doing some pothole patching in places that need to be patched, and then they'll be coming back after they put in a new joint and putting asphalt over the top of that. This project is a $4.8 million project, and the work is being done over the weekends. We are allowing the contractor to close the traffic, 2 lanes of I-15 in each direction. There is, if you're driving, you might see some delays on I-15 if you're driving over the weekend, but we needed to allow that time for the contractor to do the work. There is one additional bridge in Lehigh that needs to be done that we will do next year. So far, there have been not very many delays to the traffic. The worst delays that we've seen have just been 15 minutes. And we are avoiding any kind of weekend that has a BYU football game. So moving up towards Wasatch County here, we have this project, which is a pavement rehab project in Provo Canyon. We drove over this project yesterday also on the tour. Here's a picture of the paving of that. So this is also going to be a commission agenda item that Bill will be talking to you about a little bit later on to turn into a pavement rehab project. It started out as a preservation project just to replace the top surface, and once we removed the top surface, we got into a layer of asphalt that was weak that we determined that we needed to remove, and so we had to go a little bit deeper, which makes this to a pavement rehab project instead of a preservation project. And at the same time, we did more investigation of the up canyon lanes and saw that we were going to be getting into the same issues up canyon. And so we were going to be asking for a new project to put out next year with additional funding to do the rehab going up canyon in the same area. Going further up the canyon, this is the retaining wall project that I talked about as we went on our tour. We couldn't see very much from the roadway. This is where the concrete barrier is, and we have a good picture that was taken from the reservoir, so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So here's the concrete barrier here at the top that you can see is just kind of hanging on the edge there. So we're going to be putting in a new retaining wall in this area here to stabilize the roadway that's up above.
Can the guy get on the boat tour that takes these pictures sometime? Could you let us know?
Sure, next time. So this project is a $2.5 million project. And they're actually going to be starting construction next week is what we're hearing. And they're able to stage this so that they don't have to close the lanes of traffic, which is going to be really nice for the traveling public. So moving on up closer into Heber here, we had a chip seal project that incorporated both State Route 113 and US 40. And you drove down 113 yesterday, down here past Charleston. So that chip seal project has been complete, and there's just the only bit of work that still needs to be done is the overlay on the bridge that goes over the Provo River. And so that is the work that still needs to be done on that. I think we do have a picture here of what that road looks like. And one more project up in this area that we didn't drive on yesterday is this project on State Route 32. This project is a cold recycle project, a $4.8 million project. You can see there the paving train that was done to recycle the pavement and put it back down. And then we came back over the top of that recycle and put down an overlay and then a chip seal. We do have a video that explains that, a story that was done. Go ahead and play that.
This paving train started at 3 a.m. when it was still cool out on State Route 32 between US 40 and Francis in Wasatch County. We take the existing asphalt on the road. The process is called cold in-place recycling. We pick it up, we rework it, add some life to it, and we spread it right back down where we got it from. It's cold recycling because the construction crews don't have to heat the asphalt to 300 or 400 degrees. They'll add oil to the build-up paving material to spread it out. Everything's contained on site. This $4 million, 8-mile repaving job would cost 40% more using traditional paving methods. We can have everything contained in a nice windrow, and all we're doing is just paving all day long. Another real advantage of this paving technique is that they don't have to bring all the paving materials up here from down in the valley. That helps keep a constant cycle of 30 trucks off of the roads. That's 30 trucks that aren't going through Harley's Canyon into Salt Lake. There's a major benefit to that to the traveling public. And the environment. So why don't we pave this way on all roads? And not all roads are good candidates for this process. This one fits, so we're doing it as often as we can. The road material was not in bad shape, so this job was preventive maintenance. This basically is a moving plant down the roadway. In Wasatch County, Jed Bowl for KSL 5 News.
Those of us who travel from this canyon are especially grateful. Construction crews will wrap up paving at the end of the week. They will apply a weather-resistant seal.
So our public involvement guys did an outreach on that project there, so it was a pretty good story that we had. So those are the major projects, construction projects that I wanted to talk about. I do have also, we wanted to take a look at, let's see if I can pull it up here, our future projects. We wanted to leave you with a look ahead to some of the things that we're going to be working on here in the future. And one of them is out actually in the Uinta Basin. We put a point out here out by Roosevelt. It's kind of the center of the basin. And this, as you might guess, is the Uinta Basin EIS. And I think we're going to hear a little bit more about that today. But this is just a general overview. John Thomas is the project manager for this project, $3 million study. And they just recently selected a consultant to do the study. And they expect preliminary alternatives to come out by this time next year. Coming back towards Wasatch Front here, another environmental EIS that we're going to be doing is down here by the Payson Main Street interchange. So this project is also, it's a $3 million environmental impact statement. RFQ to select a consultant has gone out, and we expect this project to take approximately 18 months to complete. Another big project that we have is in Provo, on Third South in Provo, which is also State Street. And this project we're working with Provo City on, it's a pavement rehabilitation or reconstruction project actually, that we need to go in and improve the drainage on Third South and also put in some safety elements. We are working with Provo to put in a pedestrian trail at the same time. Going further north, we have University Parkway, which is a major artery in our region. And we drove over it yesterday on the tour also. And we talked about that we were going to be looking at doing intersection improvements to improve the flow on University Parkway, as well as widening down the diagonal section, which is down this section here, where we just have 2 lanes in each direction. The rest of University Parkway up in this area is 3 lanes in each direction. But it's just 2 lanes down the diagonal, and we will be widening that to have 3 lanes each direction all the way on University Parkway. We're working closely with UTA, as they are also focusing on this corridor to put in a bus rapid transit or a BRT system down the middle of the parkway. And also they're looking at taking it around the BYU campus and then tying it back into University Avenue and going south on University Avenue to the Provo Mall and also down to the Nobel complex. So that'll be a major connecting system with for UTA that will connect both the commuter rail stations in Provo down here and also the commuter rail stations up across the freeway from UVU. So this will provide a pretty big link right now. It's one of the heaviest bus carrier routes that they have. So this is going to be a major focus for UTA. See if I missed anything here. I think that's it. We are going to be doing a traffic study on the corridor to determine what our best improvements might be on the parkway, and to also help us prioritize the improvements that we need to make. Going further north, an area that's close to our Region 3 offices. This is 800 North in Orem. We're going to be building a new route going west from Geneva Road here. And this is the first phase of the Vineyard Connector, if you've heard of the Vineyard Connector. You can see it goes right through the old Geneva steel plant site. And it goes out to right now we're extending the limits out to the first phase would go out to the Linden Boat Harbor area. So the environmental was completed as part of the Access Utah project. We are starting design right now. We're hoping to build next year. We do have some, challenges with the light rail and with UTA, and also just getting all the utilities out of the way to do this project. But we're hoping to build this year, or starting next year. But it might go into 2000 or the year after, so 2015. Another one of our larger projects that we're working on going further north and out west to Saratoga Springs in Eagle Mountain area. We have the Pioneer Crossing project that was put in, and we're going to be extending that from its current end. It right now ends at Redwood Road here, and so we're looking at extending it out through this area here to tie into State Route 73, which goes to Eagle Mountain. So the status of this project is that we are currently under design. We selected a consultant for that, $23 million budget, and hoping to build that one next year also. With that, I think that's what I wanted to highlight for our region. Do I have any questions from the commission?
What's the status of the expansion of the passing lane up here on
Okay.
the pass on 40?
Okay.
Just outside a little ways here from Heber.
Good question. That's we call it Daniel Summit, and we are designing that right now to be built next year.
Okay.
On that vineyard project, you used the word light rail concerns. Is there a light rail in there or commuter rail?
That's why I say it's concerns. UTA had some preliminary plans to bring light rail because there is an existing rail line right now that they own easements on. That, you know, comes down into the Geneva property. And so they're debating whether to bring it into Geneva or to take it down State Street. They're still kind of in the planning phases right now of where they want light rail to go in the future.
But there is a future commuter rail station.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. There is a commuter rail station that will be right in the middle.
It's not operating as an existing station yet, I didn't think.
No.
Yeah.
It's not,
It's
yeah.
a future station.
If you look up here at the map, it's kind of, well, it's hard to see on here, but I think it's kind of in this area where the commuter rail station would go. And UVU has purchased a bunch of property to the south of that. I think they're using it for ball fields right now. So they've got, you know, pretty big plans to use this area, I think, in the future. I know that they've talked about having students park here and shuttle them over to UVU. They're looking at different options, or to put them on the rail.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Brett, this was done live on the web,
Yes.
and I noticed people taking notes. Could you maybe show quickly how people can find this?
How to find this map on the web?
Yeah.
You have to have a UDOT login right now.
Okay.
So it's not
It's not public yet.
yet.
We can get there though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What was that?
Give them the PowerPoint.
Oh, yeah, we do have a PowerPoint of this also that we can give people.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's move on to introductions, and we'll do some public comments, and I'm going to start with the commission and start on my right. Eddie, if you could introduce yourself, we'll work across the front and do some
I'm Eddie Cox. I'm the Commissioner at Large, and I'm from Fairview.
I'm Wayne Barlow. I live in Cache Valley. I represent Region 1, which is Box Elder, Cache, Rich, Morgan, Weber, and Davis County.
I'm Kent Millington. I live in Utah County in the city of Highland, and I represent Region 3, which includes Wasatch County and out to the basin as well.
I'm Jeff Holt. I live in Huntsville, and I'm a commissioner at large.
Meg Holbrook, Salt Lake, Summit, and Tooele. I wish it was Heber, it's a beautiful day.
Dan McConaughey, I'm the Commissioner at Large, and I reside in Bountiful.
Mahis and Ali. I live in St. George. I represent 14 counties of the rest of the state.
Terrific. And this is Leanna Bedlam, our assistant. Carlos, would you like to introduce some UDOT staff?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carlos Braceras, I'm the Director of UDOT, and I'm going to ask the UDOT folks to stand up and introduce themselves, and we'll just go down the line here. Brian, why don't you start us off?
I'm Brian Adams, UDOT Region 2.
Shane Marshall, UDOT Region.
Almost like Carlos are doing the exact same thing. I'm the Deputy Director.
And I'm Randy Parker, Project Development Director.
Travis Daly, UDOT right away.
Bob McMillan, Right-of-Way Director.
Chris Peterson, Region 1 Director.
I'm Bob Kelly, I'm SPIF Coordinator. Bill Lawrence, UDOT Programming.
Brent Swanvelt, Region 3 Program Manager.
Terry Newell, Ariel Sectional, Region 3 Communications Manager. Terry Newell, Region 3 Director, the one that Shane tried to claim.
Tim Rose, I'm Project Director for the Point Project.
Niall Easton, Director of Communications.
John Gleason, Communications.
Terrific, thank you. I see some expat UDOT.
Yes.
Bridge Program Manager. Cheryl Hirsch, the Structure Design Manager.
Perfect. Anyone else? It's always good to sort of get to know your UDOT folks and put a face to a name. So I'd also like to acknowledge Kevin Van Tassel, Senator from the basin, but also on the Transportation Appropriations Chairman, Transportation Appropriations Committee. Would you like to say anything to us, guy?
Remarks.
Sure, please.
Thank you. Actually, Wasatch County is my district, and Summit County is too, most of it. So you get to touch a lot of your area. Don't have 14 counties, but it's good to be here. You know, Commissioner Milcom, I don't think there was a boat tour. UDOT just walks out there and takes that picture.
You scored some points.
So if they think you can join.
No, I'm not gonna test that at all.
I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate your time and coming around to the state, and viewing these projects, feet on the ground. It was funny as we was going through this map, I've been in Orem for a couple of days, and I have a daughter in Santa Quin, and I have a couple of daughters out in Eagle Mountain, and plus the ones here in the valley, and I think I've been over every one of those projects the last 2-3 days. So I wasn't part of your tour, but I've certainly seen those, and I think they're all great opportunities. I want to just share a minute and invite the commission to be in touch with myself and as well as my co-chair in the House. We are in the middle of a task force. It wasn't funded as a task force, but the Transportation Committee through the interim was challenged and given direction by leadership in both the House and the Senate that we're to come up with a funding plan for the next 10 to 15 years in the state of Utah, and looking at all projects and how we're going to do those. And I don't have to speak to this group, but we know that the dollars that we have to work with, while substantial, are not keeping up with some of the needs and demands that we have within the state of Utah. And particularly those of us that are in the rural Wasatch back area, we have so many of these roads that are classified B and C's that are important to us, but we realize that we have to do that. So part of the idea that we're going to do is looking for ways to increase maintenance. I think these country roads are such that we can't afford to replace them, but we can't afford to let them go down. We don't want to decide it's cheaper to go back to gravel than it is to maintain the asphalt, as we've heard in the past in some areas. I just don't think that would be good for our economy on the other, and so we're taking that very seriously. We're also looking at ways by which we might be able to increase some tools for both local governments on things that they can do, because we know the B&C road funds are limited, and those all tied to the gas tax at this time. So we've in our committee meetings thus far, we've had UAC as well as the cities of towns group come in, and we look forward to having them come in and spend additional time. I met Tuesday. I was invited to come to the interlocal meeting here in Wasatch and meet with the mayors and the county council, and we talked about transportation. And it was a very informative meeting for me, because I've kind of forgotten some things and learned some things I didn't know. The Uinta Basin Transportation Study, as you know, and as we're funding from the legislature, has significant impacts on Wasatch County. If you've hung around Main Street a little bit, you've seen some of those super tankers pull through. I know as I go home today, I'll follow many of them, and I'll pass many of them. And as I was talking with UDOT yesterday or the day before, I don't know, I've lost track of time this week. And as I think back upon the things that have been done by Wasatch County and the cities, the interlocals, certainly the bypass road in Heber does not need to be part of the study, because a lot of that is done. We have a lot of right-of-ways already identified, many of them were purchased. I think it's one of those things as we look at Wasatch County, and as they continue to be percentage-wise the fastest growing county in the state of Utah, and as you look between now and 2040, they will be double their current population. With the existing road system we've got, we're going to be in failure. especially without anything happening, just continuing to develop the resource as we currently are in the Uinta Basin and adding another 300 to 400 trucks a day moving product. I think the urgency for looking at the bypass, I'd ask you to consider that and factor those things in. And I know you're doing that, but I just think that that's an important issue for this community as well as for the state of Utah. And it's a great opportunity to be able to represent these good people and to work with groups such as yourself, with UDOT. You know, I don't know if Carlos can walk on water, but I think most of these staff can. And they are very efficient. We have been using UDOT extensively and a lot in our transportation planning. We will continue to do that. And I hope at the end of the day, we're going to have some tough decisions to make. No one likes to see an increase in fees or taxes or whatever. But some things can't wait. Some things government should be funding. And transportation, maintenance, roads and things are one of those things that I feel very strongly about. So I hope that we come up with some decisions. I know that we're looking at ways that we can have whether, and there's a lot of numbers out there, whether it's a sales tax on fuel, vehicles, mile traveled, which sounds really easy, but the complications of that I have yet to buy off on. And privacy and an issue of tracking where we are and how many miles we went. Some of those things are difficult political questions, but if any of you or any of the group that's here have suggestions, I would be glad to listen to those and get them in the mix. And quite frankly, the next 90 days is going to be the critical time. And because we have to be ready to roll out something in November. And I think we're getting close. The amazing thing that I'm finding about transportation is we have a lot of different groups that have done a lot of things. And we are trying to pull all that together. We have the Salt Lake Chamber in Salt Lake that's done a lot of studies. We have, UDOT has lots. It's just a matter of trying to get that all in a concise area. And we're starting to build a folder that's now about 4 inches thick. And I anticipate we'll add more to that. And it looks like it will be an interesting time to make decisions and to plan for the state of Utah. You know, in 2002, which was a little over 10 years ago, as we drove up I-15, we thought, wow, this is going to be great. We'll never grow into this. But now as I go up through there, I wonder how much we can grow. And certainly on the population, on the Wasatch Front, UTA has an issue that will take part of that. UTA says that they are carrying the equivalent of 2 lanes of traffic, and that probably is right during rush hour. And we'll be working with them as well. So thank you for your time. Appreciate your willingness to leave the ivory tower of Salt Lake and come out and visit us, folks. Thank you.
Thank you for doing the science. For your visit.
Yeah, thank you so much for all that you do. Also, we've got Representative Craig Powell here. If you'd like to say a few words or address the commission at all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I won't take long. I'd like to welcome the commission here to our beautiful county. We appreciate this visit and the attention to this region. I have served on the Transportation Committee at the legislature for several years as well, and I know the excellent work that Carlos and all of his staff have done. I want to just say that the one thing that I hear from constituents, I represent now Wasatch and Summit counties straddling 2 of your regions. And the one thing that I hear from constituents, other than your usual road construction comments and complaints, but those actually usually turn out positive, I find, when people see the finished product. So those usually work themselves out. But what Senator Van Tassel just referred to, and that is the increasing traffic, not just because of the growth and development in this region itself, but of course the through traffic from the oil and gas production coming from the Uinta Basin. We recognize, as does the entire state, the great economic driver that is for our state. It's just that, of course, as Senator Van Tassel's studies are showing now, that that impact really is unsustainable on our major arteries. And especially here, myself as a resident of Heber City, we're quite concerned, of course, about Main Street. And I've also been hearing more and more from Summit County as well, just about the interest in that study. So I have been in touch, of course, with Senator Van Tassel, and I would hope that as that investigation and study proceeds, that not only the Uinta Basin counties, but the counties here in this region can be heavily involved. I know that our county commissioners, our county manager, and our city officials have been participants in that, and I hope that will continue to be. But that's just my comment for today. I really appreciate your work, and thank you for coming to Wasatch County.
Thank you for being here. I did throw out the idea yesterday that we just hook the Heber creeper up on out to the basin, but nobody bid on that.
That's great.
Maybe have another.
Great. We also have a representative, Russ Robinson from FHWA, welcome, and taking James Christian's place today, and we'll hear from you just a little bit later during the FHWA presentation. I'd like to just ask if there are any local officials in the room who'd like to stand and introduce themselves.
Good morning. Welcome to the best part of the state. My name is Bob Jasper. I'm the Summit County Manager. My council asked me to come by and say welcome to you all. And I want to tell you about a process we're going through with Park City, Heber, Summit County, Wasatch County. We have been joining together and trying to do some regional planning. Recently at a barbecue here at the fairgrounds, we put together a map that showed all the approved lots in both counties. Just by that is already approved, we will more than double in population. That's without any new approvals of subdivisions and lots. Beyond that, our tourism industry is coming back big time. If you would have been up here for the Kimball Art Show, traffic was stacked everywhere. At any given day, we have an extra 100,000 people in our area. And that's good for us, and it's good for the economy, but it's not all that good when traffic stacks up. In particular, we're working with Wasatch County and the cities about the needs of Highway 40. In addition, much of our workforce in Summit County commutes from Wasatch County. It can get pretty stacked up in the mornings. Didn't come here today to tell you that we have answers or specific projects, but I did want to let you know that just by approved lots, we will more than double, and our tourism visitors are increasing rapidly. So thank you for coming.
Can I ask you, in your planning and in your thinking, are you looking at potential proposals? You're not here this morning to offer proposals, but are you looking at proposals for additional transportation routes?
Well, we are, and I did not bring our public works director or our county engineer with me. He's working with your staff on the STIP and things like that. And I don't want to get ahead of Wasatch County because we want to do it in partnership. By the way, we haven't always partnered well with other counties. We do now, and it's important. We also have our own internal county transportation plan, and we have, we are told by contractors all the time, the highest traffic impact fees around. And so one of the things we'd like to do is partner with you. We make sure that the projects that we build, we just put 2 roundabouts in our Kimball Junction area. Part of the thinking of that was we'll make traffic off the highway smoother. They can get on and off a lot quicker and not jam up during the peak tourist areas. So we have our own plans, things that we will fund and things that we hope to partner with you all in terms of building.
Thank you.
And we will have specific things, but we want to do it as all four entities.
You also have the best air in the state, so.
Well, I don't know if you're aware, but it was rather smoky around here, and we lost a lot of structures. And we appreciate the state's assistance there. We've had 3 fire departments plus state folks out fighting fires, and lost a number of homes. And we really appreciate your airplanes and helicopters. Thank you so much. Senator?
Any other, yes?
Good morning, my name is Dave Phillips, I'm the mayor of Heber City. I want to welcome you today to our beautiful city. If I can take just maybe 2 minutes, I'll go fast. We appreciate the relationship that we have with UDOT Region 3 and their leadership. The local UDOT maintenance shed employees, and we look forward to working with the new director. Terry has some big shoes to fill. I think Shane has larger shoes than her, but she'll do a great job. She has already contacted the elected officials, made contact with us, and opened the door. And you know that's a great way to get started. And we appreciate Terry. You know, we appreciate UDOT and what goes on. We've seen great things come out of Region 3. The cooperation's been great. The people have been great. And that really is of note to us. Just a couple of notes that I would like to share with you concerning the city, and I'll finish up by talking about the truck route. You know, the widening of 189 to 4 lanes out here between here and Wallsburg has made a great improvement. Highway 113, which we call Midway Lane, that runs from Main Street all the way over to Midway, with curb and gather. And that's a really beautiful road. And it's
We were on that yesterday,
Yeah.
so we actually saw that, that road and that improvement.
Isn't it beautiful? It's a well-traveled road. It is
Yeah.
probably the busiest road in Wasatch County, next to US 40, right out here in front of the building. Airport Improvement Project grant matches and maintenance grants. We're currently designing the rehabilitation of the runway and the apron, the Heber City Airport. We appreciate the matching grants by UDOT Aeronautics. We appreciate UDOT's participation in the rural RPO program, the Rural Planning Organization, as we plan for the future transportation needs here in the county, and we work with them on a regular basis. As I mentioned, the relationship with Region 3 and the leadership there has been outstanding, and we expect it will continue and probably even get better. I'll just mention the truck route, just one thing. We have about 41% of the land acquired already on the right of way that we need to do that. And we look forward as a city working with Wasatch County hand in hand, engaging UDOT 3 in the phasing and the development of the intersections of that. I'd like to just introduce Jay Price, stand up. He's the chair of the Wasatch County Council. Mark Anderson is our city manager in Heber City. Jeff Bradshaw is a member of our city council over here. This is a big thing to us, and we think you know it, but we all need to get our licks in when we can. It's amazing. If we were to hold this meeting for 15 minutes out on the front lawn, you wouldn't be able to do it. You'd have to come back inside because of the noise up and down the street. And we know it's not your fault. It's part of growth. We look forward to the area growing out in the basin. Senator Van Tassel talked about how the state of Utah can get on board in that industry. Representative Powell, who lives here in Heber City, is a phenomenal representative for the people here. And so we want that to be successful out in the basin because it's going to help the state with a lot of money. And you know how we can use that. So we're not against what's happening. We just want to try and find a better way to make our streets safer and to take some of that truck traffic off of US 40. I've said enough. Thank you so much.
Stay here for a second. Mayor, Brett, could you come up and just pop that connector up on the screen for us so we can take a look at that? I want to just...
Well, we actually traveled and talked about that bypass route yesterday.
Bless you.
They're
doing that.
You have it. I'm putting you on the spot here. I know.
You are.
Let's see what's on there.
Yeah, that's
Brent does a great job.
that's the
We
map.
can't pronounce his
actually
last
that we-
name, but we know his first name. He really is a good guy. Brent.
Actually, I might. Let's see if I might have it here.
Jeff, if I could just make an observation on the discussion we had about growth. You know, that's the blessing and the punishment of living in Utah. It's best managed state, all the good things going on, it's a great place to live, great place to start a business. But the growth rate is gonna be so superb in the next 2040 cycle that you local jurisdictions gotta be visionary and brave. You gotta be willing to take risks to find solutions to the task ahead of you. You can't wait for the next group of mayors and city councilors and senators to solve the problems. The problems are on your doorstep, and we'll help you as best we can, but, you know, you're gonna have to use your vision and your creativity.
I just wanted to see that, how that traffic flows around and how those trucks are gonna get off.
Almost there.
So we talked bypass yesterday, and, you know, pretty simple, loop around, but these are, there's a lot of trucks here. It'll just be interesting to see how you.
Yeah, in addition to the trucks,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, in addition to the trucks, the traffic that comes up from Utah and Orem, Utah County and Orem, every morning it passes straight through, it goes over to Summit County. I think the study showed 60% of the traffic right now is coming up the canyon, shooting straight through and over to Park City, and then back. It's amazing how the headlights come up the canyon.
So what you want is friction on all the ones that want to stay and see and spend a little money, but no friction on all the other ones. Get those through. Show us how the trucks. Can you just maybe describe how the trucks are going to get off? And
You bet. Please,
Terry, kill the lights a little bit.
Okay, my name is Sean Seeger, and I work with Wasatch County and UDOT. And you guys saw some of this map yesterday, and we did a tour of the bypass yesterday. So real briefly, here's the hub intersection. This is the US 40 going out to Vernal. This is US 189 coming to Provo. This is north heading towards Park City. And so the concept is that, as was mentioned, about 60% of the through trips, the trips that do not stop in Heber, are coming from Provo towards Salt Lake, from Salt Lake towards Provo. So the location of the bypass on the west side of town is very advantageous to accommodate those through trips. You can see how we planned the west bypass to follow Southfield Road. This is what we call the sewer farms right here. It comes past the event center, which is where we have the county fair rodeo, the high school rodeo every year. We also have passing by the recreation center. That's the recreation fields. This is the one intersection with State Route 113. This is Midway right here. And so you will be able to get on and get off at State Route 113. That's the only other location on that west side. Coming up through the north fields here, this is very special property. I think I mentioned this yesterday. It's beautiful agricultural property. It hooks back into US 40 at this location. From the Vernal side coming out of the canyon on US 40, the concept is to try to make this a very easy movement to come through this area and hook onto the bypass to try to encourage, just as you mentioned, Chair, the idea that this is going to be a slower road, this will be a faster road, and attract that traffic if we can. That's going to be the challenge, is working with the intersections.
how many miles around?
To do from this location up to this location, it's about 3.7 miles.
So it doesn't add much for a truck to get around. Certainly speed it up.
Not much, but those intersections and how those are designed are so important, and that's what we want to continue to do work with UDOT on, is how do we make those things function and work, and how do we phase the costs, because the costs are very important.
Will it normally, we restrict trucks on Main Street after that?
UDOT, do you want to answer that question? I don't think that's
Is that a plan? Can we do that? Or is it just enough?
We
to
could.
build it?
I think the concept is going to be turn Main Street back into a Main Street.
Yeah.
Turn it into something the community can really get around and enjoy. And make it so that the friction that you mentioned earlier, Commissioner, that we put some friction on Main Street and direct trucks away from it. I really, there's been a lot of question about how do we do that. But I think once Main Street is a Main Street, I really believe trucks are going to go around. You're going to save time. You may not save distance, but you can save time. So the idea is make it nice one way, and introduce some frictions along Main Street.
And the planning's far enough away from the Y to not affect the Y there?
I think so.
Okay, and then is that just creating a new Y over there on the sewer thing, or is that all gonna be kind of limited access?
It's all limited access.
Including that new intersection there next to the sewer thing?
Where does this come into 40? How far north is that?
Okay, so this is at about 600 north in Heber. It's not that far north.
Okay.
The idea is to hold that very tight because we don't want the North Fields to experience the type of growth that the rest of the valley hasn't encountered.
You're lucky to have that much
Yeah.
right of way available. I mean,
Yeah.
It's really stunning.
What's fantastic that I would mention is the county has had a vehicle registration fee in place that the legislature allowed the counties to adopt, and they've been using that fee to acquire right-of-way on the bypass. Also through exactions. So anytime a development comes in, Heber City has been very good at acquiring the right-of-way through that development process. To acquire that right-of-way so that in the future, someday, when we do need to build this road, we will have that ability to go in and have that right-of-way already acquired.
What's your thought on elevations on the road? Is it kind of at grade parkway? What's the drainage like?
We have a plan set that Project Engineering Consultants has created for us, and we've done some elevation, some horizontal, but nothing with enough detail to even do some good cost estimates yet.
You're not going to elevate it and, you're not going to take it up in the air or anything?
No, we'll keep it as close to grade as possible.
Any questions for the commission? This is an important, future element.
Sean did mention that you did preserve open space on the northern end, and you just take a small bit with the bypass, right?
That's right. One thing that Brent was mentioning is the resolutions and agreements that Heber City has with Wasatch County, these signed resolutions by both councils that they support the concept. The alignment is in their road master plan for each organization. So they've been planning for this for about 7 or 8 years or so.
Well, it's good vision and good planning.
I think one additional thing to keep in mind is that the reason I asked about where it intersects with 40 is because just north of that area is the campus of UVU. And I was in some meetings with the president of UVU earlier this week, where they're talking about the need to expand locations for UVU. We're kind of landlocked down in Orem, and yet we anticipate about a 35 to 40% increase over the next 10 years in student enrollment there, up to in the low 40,000s at UVU. And so they're looking for other locations, including the Heber campus. I'm also involved in some discussions with a major company that's doing some work over in Park City. And they will be utilizing that campus as well. And as a result, there will be a much larger number of students that will be coming up to attend the programs at that campus. And right now, they would come right up to 40 and go right through downtown, where this bypass would facilitate that kind of traffic. And that is, in fact, the company in Park City has already begun their development, and we're working with them right now. So this is additional traffic that will be attracted here to the valley. Another reason, not just the economic development and the truck traffic, but the car traffic that could be facilitated by this growth in student population that would use this campus.
Great, thank you very much for showing us that detail. Mayor, I will tell you, you're very lucky to have Terry Newell on the case here because, without much fanfare, we've been watching her for years, and without much fanfare, in fact, with almost no announcements, not a reporter, we turn around and all of a sudden it's like, where did that 15 miles come from? She just gets it done. So, before you know it, it'll just be done.
Can I quote you?
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
It just just all of a sudden, I don't know where she finds it, but she just makes it. Okay, any other public officials that would like to spend a minute with us today?
I'm not going to say much. Jay Price, Chairman of Wasatch County Council. We welcome you here. I'm just going to echo the statements that have been made. As you do consider this STIP, I think you can see the importance of this bypass road. So thank you for being here and welcome to Wasatch County.
Anything else?
I will say, I think Terry is one, I appreciate the jobs that she has, and I appreciate that, I didn't get to say that in the last commission, and she's one of the best problem solvers in UDOT. From what I see, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Are you paying all these people, Terry?
You know, you got it good. All the good people come out of Region 3.
Okay, we'll
She's so good, we're gonna give her a chair, she's so she's not. No, we're done. Sit down, please.
Great, thank you for being here to the public officials and having this dialogue with us. It's important to do the back and forth, and we really appreciate it. Let's move on to our UDOT scoreboard item number 4. We'll get into some of our fairly short agenda business items today. Who's doing this?
Which one is it? Is it fatalities first?
Construction one first, if you're okay.
Oh, sure, fine.
Commission and let Shane take care of the,
Wow.
the traffic
How many
safety.
goes and like you guys just fall apart?
Exactly.
No, there is a lot of tears in our eyes with Ahmed gone, but we'll pick it up. The first document in your packet is the projects that are advertised this last month, since July 10th through August 12th. You can see that we've slowed down considerably. We were up to the 19 to 30 projects that we were advertising a month up until end of June. In July, we've slowed down. We only advertised 4 projects. That's what we want to see. During the construction season, it's a horrible time to advertise projects. So we try to get them done earlier in the year, or in fact earlier even than we did this year. But we're now down to a slower time. We just advertised projects, 1 in each region, so we're down to 4. But we did get really good bids. We have about approximately $3 million money that we'll look at, and take a portion of that we can reprogram because the bids were well below our estimate. You can see that in that document. If you turn to the second page, you'll be able to see our the page that shows all of the different graphs that we usually have. We have 184 projects currently under construction, so we do have a very busy summer. You don't have to drive around the state very far without running into an orange barrel, which we like to see. There's a lot going on. Hopefully with minimal traffic impact, so we try to minimize that. And I've been really happy this year with the phasing of our construction projects. The graph on the top right shows how we've spent our money, and we have about approximately $240 million left that are actually in the bank that need to be paid out on these projects. So the majority of our current funding has been paid out on our projects. So that includes the Mountain View Corridor and the I-15 core projects. That's why we have a $1.8 billion program still. But out of that, we only have approximately $240 million to spend. Our contractor payments by month are about $52 million we paid out in the last 30 days and to our contractors. And the graph to the right there that shows our progress. We're 84% on schedule on our project. It's about where we want to spend because we measure this by payment, and payment always lags progress. And so we believe as long as we stay above 80%, we're on schedule for our projects, and we see that. And then the graph on the bottom left shows how our projects have been coming in as far as engineers' estimate. We're 13.8, we're about 13% below the actual engineer's estimate, which leaves the money that we can spend and reprogram, which we'll reprogram some of that today. With that, any questions?
Is this, so it's, that 13% sort of seems like it's, last year we were kind of getting right on the screws, and it seems like it's opened up another savings gap this year. Is that?
Yeah, it really has. I mean, obviously, when you go from a $1.88 billion program down to something that's much smaller, we're down to $240 million from when we were at the highest, you know, at a $1 billion plus program. Contractors don't have a lot of work, so there's great competition out there, and they're looking forward to the future where we actually get a bigger program.
I just had a question about one of the projects, the one north of Tremont to the Idaho border. They're doing a lot of,
Yeah, on I-15 or 84?
yeah, on I-15. On I-15, going to the Idaho border, they were doing a lot of that rehabilitation or something on that road here a couple of weeks ago. I was coming back down, and my curiosity is, has the fire along that area south of Malad, along the border, has that impacted at all?
We'll let Chris answer that question.
Road construction there?
The short answer is, we haven't heard anything from our project team, from the contractor to say that that's impacted in any way, to cause them to stop or slow down or
Okay.
reduce their efficiency. So we haven't heard anything from them. We might have, but I don't believe they have to stop or shut down.
All right.
I actually drove that road 2 days ago with the fires up there, Commissioner, and we still have plenty of capacity. So, even down to 1 lane each direction.
Because it's what, about 10 miles or so? 10 or 12 miles of 1 lane in each direction? But it's not that heavily used.
No, I stayed at the speed limit the whole time as I was driving through.
Well, I was knocking barrels here and there, but.
I was thinking, you know, he wouldn't have stayed at the speed limit, but I was actually at the limit.
Okay, thank you. That was just a curious point, because I knew that it was in that valley and burning fairly close to the road. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm going to talk about the fatalities scoreboard. We had a poor month of July. The total crashes in July hit the 5-year average. So they were up from both the previous months of this year. We're right at about 100 crashes total. We had 3 pedestrian fatalities this month. That puts us right at the 5-year average. You can see if you look at the graph, we had a really rough March, so that really jumped us up right at the beginning. 3 fatalities this month is right on average. As far as total fatalities for the state, we're at 110, which is 10 below last year and 24 below our 5-year average. So overall, we're heading in the right direction, but July is typically a big month for fatalities. Just so you know how we're dealing with these, we met with our region directors just this last week, and we talked about how we talk about fatalities throughout the department. We talk about it as a senior executive team, and that goes all the way down to our stations, our maintenance stations. They're talking about this at each maintenance station at least once a year, where the fatalities are occurring, what we can do about them from a maintenance standpoint, not just in our projects, but what do we do about them in our everyday, day-to-day operations. So we're working very hard to get to 0. Certainly 1 is too many, and 110 is far too many. You can see cumulative fatalities per 100 BMT. We're right there below average still. Trended up this month, but we're still below last year and way below the average. Any questions on those?
I'm assuming that we are still very active as a new school year starts and a new crop of students are undergoing driver's training and whatever else, that we're still active in the schools promoting the idea that we shouldn't text and drive.
Very active in the schools. Our Traffic and Safety Division is getting the word out. They have a nice little program. If you've never been to that program, you ought to take a chance to go.
Well, we got copies of some of the stuff that had been prepared. Just this morning, I heard an interview of a director that has developed a new documentary film called, I'm going to get this a little wrong, but it's something like from 1 second to the next. It's a new documentary film about texting and driving.
Oh, yes.
In
In fact,
fact,
they used the same gentleman that we used when we made that first video.
Okay,
And it was that accident where he had 2 fatalities in that crash.
right.
Yes, I've seen that.
Well, they've just, I guess, released this new documentary film. And it's something like from 1 second to the next, or,
Yeah, it's sponsored by AT&T, and
Yes.
they did 2 case studies, and this was one of the case studies that they did.
well, you know, if we're aware of it, perhaps this is something that we could promote to the schools as well. There's another opportunity to make it well known about texting and driving, because it's become such a huge problem. And I just heard that on the news this morning, in this interview. So lots of other people are catching the vision that Utah had some time ago in preparing this material, but there's other material that's now available as well.
AT&T is being very active in this. If you have occasion to call their customer support number while you're on hold, you're hearing this message, and they really push the idea that AT&T is committed to eliminate texting while driving. And of course,
It's
a
not
lot of
just
their
that.
customers are using mobile phones.
It's not just a high school problem though.
Yeah, that's true.
We're all guilty of it, and I think we need to remember that.
Yeah, getting the word out to not just high school, but important. I have a daughter that'll be a sophomore, she'll be driving in 2 months, and this is all we talk about, texting and driving and texting and driving. I usually close my eyes while she drives, so y'all watch out. But it's rampant. Just a little bit of depth about the fatalities in July. We had 16 fatalities. 7 of them were not wearing seatbelts. 5 of them were not sure, but 4 of them were. So the biggest percentage is still not wearing seatbelts. Still a problem. Still something we need to talk about along with texting and driving. Just buckle up. So, any other questions?
Shane, any data on motorcycle fatalities where they're not wearing helmets?
We had 3 this last month, and all 3 were not wearing helmets.
Yeah, I see an awful lot of guys riding without helmets. And, although I don't think we should have a law that makes you wear a helmet, I really think it's stupid, being a motorcycle rider myself, to get on, and I taught my boys, don't you ever let me catch you on those 2 wheels without a helmet on.
Thank you. Other questions? Thanks. You know, I think I failed to ask the public if they wanted to, I assume Jamie was speaking for all the public today, but no, just Jamie. But if there are any of the general public that was, I gave the public officials and almost everybody else in the room a shot. So, Leon, do you want to, welcome back, by the way. You look great.
Listen, it's good to be back, and I wouldn't wish what I've gone through the last 7 months upon anybody. So, I'm still a little sore on the hip side. General information, I was running through esophagus just before Christmas, and up in ICU. Don was going through prostate cancer treatment. Got that finished, I stuck him in the hospital, and to replace the hip, and while I doing that, they broke my femur. So they had to go back in and put it back on. Anyway, it's been a great trip.
Wow.
Back to work, and we're
the
looking
health
at
care
this.
system. Yeah, good.
Thank you for your interest.
Great to have you here. Yeah. Anyone else? Dale, no song? Dale, no song today?
Not today.
All right. Okay, let's move on to item 5. That's our 90-day project update.
Good morning, commissioners. It's good to be here. Definitely enjoyed my ride up the canyon this morning. Had a beautiful ride with my My truck just kept wanting to pull left as I got to the lake area. The tie kept getting looser, and I don't know why I'm here, but I'm here. So what I'd like to do today is just get everybody a little update on the August Highway project. We thought it was a great opportunity while we were in the region, just to get everybody up to speed on where we're at. So some of the things that I want to cover today is take an opportunity and focus in on some of the positives out of this project. There are a number of positive things that have happened with the project. And then also take just a few minutes and update everybody on the current status of where we're at. And then take a look at our investment summary as far as where we're at with the budget, what we spent to date. And then I'll close on just looking what's ahead of us as far as the project closeout and what items still remain in front of us. So this is a photo of where we were before we began any work. If you can remember, we had a nice 2-lane facility that ran from I-15 all the way up to American Forest Canyon. Had some serious issues with congestion and safety. So giving you a little history of how we got to the alternative that's currently built, is we spent a lot of time, the department, working with key stakeholders, a lot of the different cities. This corridor services Alpine, Highland, Cedar Hills, and Lehigh. So we spent a lot of time with the cities, a lot of the stakeholders, to try to figure out what is the correct type of facility to build in this area. We had two competing opinions. Had a lot of the folks in the communities not wanting this to turn into a 7-mile arterial with stoplights all the way along the corridor, to where it increase their commute time as they're traveling to and from I-15. But at the same time, we had a lot of open space, you can see in the photo, and just the development potential there. So there was a lot of push, that we need to provide a facility that will allow that economic development. So as we worked with that group, we came up with three goals, or 3 drivers for the project. One was obviously to increase the capacity and minimize the commute times. The second was to improve safety, and the third was to maximize development potential. And if you notice, those follow pretty closely to our current strategic direction. Whoops. So this photo just gives you just a snapshot of what we ended up with. We call this our commuter lane alternative. That group analyzed and looked at all kinds of different options, anything from 7-lane arterials to freeway systems, you name it. We studied it through the corridor, and at the end of the day, we came up with this creative alternative. And we always, as far as the department, we always pride ourselves in the innovation that comes out through our design and construction. But what was amazing about this project is that innovation actually happened with working with communities. And what we came up with is a combination of a high-speed commuter lanes, as well as an arterial system that runs alongside of it. And so the project starts at I-15 and runs all the way to SR 74 in Highland. And I'll touch on a few key features. So this commuter lane and arterial alternative, there's some key benefits in this, and I'll point out a few. you know, obviously with the commuter lanes, it is very nice for the commuters that are traveling to and from I-15 to be able to jump on this commuter lane and, you know, end up at I-15 or use it the other direction without having to stop at any signalized intersections. So it reduces the commute times dramatically. The other feature is the arterial system allows the development to happen along the arterial section, and you know, it allows the businesses to prosper. One of the things that once we got into that, we, you know, that you wouldn't realize until you've taken a hard look at it, is that a lot of these signalized intersections, because you're eliminating all of that through traffic that's heading to I-15, you take that out of having to go through those signals operate very well, you know, for a long period of time. So not only I mean, it really helps as far as that operation, and then allows the businesses, you know, pretty good access in and out. The second thing we want to touch on is the DDI, and there's obviously a history behind.
What is a DDI?
It's our diverging diamond interchange.
Okay, there may be some people here that don't know the DDI.
Can't put something up.
So there's definitely a history behind this interchange. When we started the project, we were a little bit ahead of I-15 core, and we anticipated that with I-15 core, that intersection or interchange at SR 92 would be reconstructed with that project. So we had no plans to do anything with that interchange other than just some minor temporary features. So when we found out that they weren't going to get there, we were really concerned about building this and heading it down into that existing interchange that was already failing. So project team worked together, studied a number of options, interchange options. We just completed successfully our first DDI at Pioneer and felt very comfortable that this would be an optimal location to do a retrofit DDI. So we evaluated, the costs and ended up coming back to the commission and asking for additional funding, $8 million, to go ahead and add this to our project. We went ahead and added it to the project by change order and went ahead and constructed it. The other item, feature of the project is we actually worked with the Murdoch Canal Trail project, which basically extends from the mouth of Provo Canyon and extends all the way down to SR 92 interchange. And we ended up building a small section of that and completing that last leg of the Murdoch Trail. So looking at some of the key benefits that came out of the project, and these are pretty dramatic numbers. If you look back in 2007, where we started with 2 lanes, we had a total travel volume of about 33,000 vehicles. That increased to date up to 37,700, which is about a 14% increase in the overall vehicles. But at the same time, if you look at the total time spent commuting, that's a number that was measured from SR 74 to I-15. It used to take 19 minutes to be able to commute from SR 74 down to I-15 with very little signals along that corridor. Today, with the commuter lanes in place, that same length, we've reduced the travel time to 7 minutes, which is a 63% increase in travel time. Huge numbers. Decrease. And if you want to do some creative math just to see what that really translates to, if you look at that travel time savings for the entire year for those 37,000 commuters, it translates to $41 million in user cost savings for the year, which is a huge number. Safety. We started before the project with crashes through our interchange of 24 crashes. We reduced it to date in 2012 down to 7. And also on Mainline, we've had a reduction of 65 down to 49, which translates to 71% decrease in total crashes at the interchange and a 25% reduction along Mainline. I just want to point out too that these numbers are we have the data just for 1 year. Really, to be statistically valid, we need a few more years to hone those numbers in a little bit tighter. But this is a good indicator of what we're seeing out there today. Now let's talk about the economic development, which is probably one of the major things that have happened over the last couple of years in this area. If you look back in 2007, we went back and worked with Lehigh City and communities to kind of figure out how many new businesses have been created since this project has happened. And we came up with 100 new businesses along the corridor, which translates to about 4,135 new jobs to date, with more to come. So I want to take just a few minutes and walk you through a few of these key developments. We have just on the west side of our interchange, the Thanksgiving Park area. They are building 6 large office buildings. 3 of them have been constructed, 2 are underway, and they've created 6 additional restaurants, and they're really trying to attract the high-tech industry. And Microsoft is one that is one of those buildings. Adobe, everybody is aware of driven by Adobe's new building. That's just phase 1. They're planning on adding 2 additional buildings to their facility, and I think with plans to start the second one here shortly. But they estimate that at the end of their 3rd phase that they will have brought in 2,500 new jobs. And currently with their phase 1, there's 1,100 new jobs created. Traverse Mountain Outlets. Over the past 2 years, they've been adding these outlet malls, which to date they have 48 outlet stores, with plans to add an additional 25 here in the near future, and they're estimating approximately 1,700 new jobs based there from that development. Exactware. This is a company that currently they have their headquarters in Orem. They are looking to expand and move their headquarters to this location. They will be moving their headquarters this spring, and they plan on when they open that they'll have 460 jobs, some of which are transfer jobs. But I think the key number to look at is in the future they're going to want to add an additional 860 jobs to that facility. And the Micron property. When we started this project, I don't think they had any vision as far as what they wanted to do with all of that land, other than just maintain their existing facility. But as we worked with them and worked with this alternative, I think they realized what a great facility and what an opportunity to develop all of that land that they own. So they currently employ 1,800 employees, and they're working right now with Lehigh City to master plan their development, which they're planning on adding 5 million square feet of office space. And roughly around 750 new residents. So another huge area of future growth. And I'll highlight one last business. We've got a hospital facility that is planning on going in this next year. located next to the interchange, next to our maintenance facility. And it's going to be a full-on hospital with, 3 other business or buildings alongside of it. So our current status of the project, as of the 1st of August, we have the main line interchange and all the commuter lanes open and operational. All quality and rework items are complete except for one remaining soil nail wall location where we're gonna be trying to fix and remedy that wall. We're planning on having that wall completed by sometime in October this year, and then that way the whole project will be 100% open and operational. But currently, with this small section closed, it still allows the public with full access along the arterial. Everybody still has full access to the commuter lanes heading westbound. The only section that is closed is just this small little section by Highland Boulevard. There still is full access from Highland and Alpine onto the commuter lane. So again, all of the items have been addressed, and we're looking at completing that wall sometime in October. Now I wanted to take a look and just look at our investment summary to date. So the original contract value is $87 million. We've executed a number of change orders to the project totaling $26.9 million. I'll highlight 5 of these change orders, which make up pretty much, almost 90% of the change orders. One, of course, was the addition of the DDI, which was $8 million. We've had a number of betterments working with the cities and third parties that they've added to the project. We had a VOR relocation where we ended up relocating about a mile stretch of their high pressure water, and we added a bridge structure due to some right-of-way access problems, and then obviously we paid the contractor for some right-of-way delays where we were having trouble delivering the right-of-way along the Traverse Mountain area. Again, between those 5 items, that's about almost 90% of the total. Our right-of-way purchases, we acquired 97 parcels along the corridor, very expensive real estate, which totaled about just under $39 million. Our project management cost to date, about 19.5. We have assessed over the last 2 years a total of $6 million in liquidated damages, and we anticipate that number to grow to $6.4 million at the end of the completion of the soil nail wall fix. That leaves, we have spent around $172.2 million. We have our funded amount is $173.3, which leaves us about $1 million right now. Moving forward as far as our closeout, what do we have in front of us to close the project out? Currently, we have 14 open potential change orders that we're working to address, most of which are very minor items, and feel that we'll get those addressed shortly. We have one major PCO that I'll talk a little bit more in just a second. But I wanted to explain kind of the process that we go through to address these potential change orders. The department and the contractor will sit down and use the contract to evaluate the merits of the potential change orders before we even talk about costs. So we're going through that process with a number of these right now. We also have a formal escalation process in place so that if there's if there's resolution at one level that doesn't happen, then immediately that PCO gets escalated to the next level. So we have a senior leadership level, an executive level, and this is basically inside of the department as well as a few representatives from the contractor. In the event it goes beyond our executive level, then we have a DRB in place, and that's very similar to a mediation type of a situation where the department goes in and presents their side of the story. Contractor would do the same, and then this board would rule again based on the contract. And then if resolution can't happen in the DRB, then obviously litigation is the next step. I want to talk about the major PCO that we have on the table of these 14. The contractor has submitted a PCO in the amount of $28.8 million. And the justification for this PCO is they are seeking reimbursements for that additional cost associated with the 2-year delay. So the same time frame that we've been assessing liquidated damages. At first glance, from looking at it, the department's very skeptical on the merit of this, but at the same time, we are going to work in good faith with the contractor to go through, use the contract, use this escalation process to see if we can get it resolved. I think we feel extremely confident in our contract. We feel confident in this escalation process, and we also feel extremely confident in our project record. We've spent a lot of time on this project, collecting a lot of data, using month-by-month schedules, and again, feel really comfortable with what lays in front of us and in resolving these 14 items. And then I want to just close just again with a snapshot of what the project looked like in 2007 versus what it looks like today. Huge differences, and I just want to highlight again some of the key bullets that we talked about. We're seeing an increase in traffic of 14%, and at the same time, we're seeing a decrease in travel times by 63%. The economic development piece, we've shown 100 new businesses, and which translates to about 4,000 plus new jobs. Seeing a 71% reduction in crashes at the interchange and a 25% reduction along Main Line. And again, I just want to emphasize our commitment that we have in working with, in good faith with our contractor, using the escalation process, the contract, and our comprehensive record to try to resolve all of these PCOs in a timely manner. And then just conclude with, we are definitely committed as stewards of the taxpayer to ensure that the taxpayers truly get what they pay for. And with that, I take any questions you may have.
Question. Brian?
Yes, sir.
What was the cause of the delay for 2 years? You talked positive, delay, they're asking for restitution, but what was the cause? What was the cause?
If you look at the 2-year period, we've been spending a lot of time doing rework, and that's the way we see it. Is there was a lot of rework for the 2 areas. Obviously, the contractor views it as that UDOT has some responsibility in that, And that's what we'll be evaluating as we look into that PCO.
You know, we always talk about the bad news, but the good news is there's been a lot of residual economic development, traffic time. The area of Lehigh's grown by leaps and bounds, who knew? So I think we need to keep that in mind with everything else.
Yeah, if you look, that was the one thing that really stands out to me is if you look at the amount that's invested in this project and to see the benefits of from a tax base to that community, it's like amazing.
Do we get a finder's fee?
From the city?
Anyway.
That's something, Kim.
Yeah, I had heard recently, I know that there's been some difficulty with this contractor over this and the delays and everything. I'd heard recently that they've actually decided to close up their Utah operation and move out of the state. Is that correct? Have you heard that?
That is a correct statement. They let us know a week or so ago that they were closing their office in American Fork and would be relocating to Colorado.
Anything?
Well, just a comment. I think it's admirable that the way the department's handled it and the contractor, that you kept moving ahead instead of getting stalemated and not finishing even with all the problems. So I think that's very exemplary.
So on this dispute resolution piece, so this basically we follow through a certain element, and then if at any point in that escalation, if the department decides that maybe there's some merit to some of this, depending on the dollar amounts, the rulemaking that we did a few years ago would require certain notifications to be made. Maybe describe that over how the dollar amounts and how that gets done to sort of like escalate.
You want to do that?
I'll do that.
Appropriate public officials to bring in some buy-in.
Would you bring up the last slide? Maybe. Oh, it's gonna go each bullet here.
We'll do it. We'll get there.
That's what do you do when you get fancy with PowerPoint? Okay, thanks, Brian. Yeah, I appreciate the question, Mr. Chairman. If you look here, within those first two levels of the escalation process, the senior leader level and the executive leader level, the department has the authority to resolve change orders if it's within the commission-approved amount. So if you were to look at the last slide, if you recall the last slide, there's a little over $1 million that's left in that budget. So that's essentially the department's authority to settle within these two levels. If we get to the dispute resolution board, and and again, the dispute resolution board, their decision is non-binding. But we look at this as for 3 experts in the construction area, 3 people that understand the construction contract and also have been experienced in construction. If they were to come out with a decision on the merits of the change order that were to say, let's say, if it was under $100,000 and it was within the commission approved amount, then the department has the authority to settle it, so under $100,000. If that range were to be between $100,000 and $500,000, then it would be a commission decision to make that decision in a public setting. If it was between $500,000 and $1 million, so 999.9, the commission would have to say yes, and then it would also have to be agreed to by the governor. And if we were to go above that threshold, it would take the approval of the commission, the governor, and legislative management committee. So there's quite a process in place here to assure that we're keeping an eye on the public's money.
Yeah, so it's not that we would approve, it's that you all make a decision at the staff level that
Yes.
this has merit and that you'd like to go there. It's really just, depending on dollar amounts, it's an approval chain that involves pretty much everyone up to the legislature. So I think it's a good rule. It'll be interesting to see how it's implemented in this case. So. I'll also say that this project is fascinating to me that you've separated the arterial from the commuter traffic in kind of a single build corridor like that. And I haven't seen much like that anywhere in the country. I'd be interested in seeing the result of some sort of a TRB award process on innovative roads. I mean, this is really interesting to have done this all in the same, all at the same time in the same build, because and pedestrian. I mean, you really sort of hit all three and kept them out of each other's way, and they all then function that much better when you keep them out of each other's way. So it really is spectacular, frankly, how that was done. So hats off to all of you guys. Any other comments or questions? It was a great tour yesterday too. So thanks for that good explanation.
Thanks, Brian.
Great. Let's move to item number 6. Point project scope review.
Thank you, Chairman.
I'll help you,
Can you
Tim.
help me out, Brian? Appreciate it. I'll help I can get here. You should be right there. Thank you. Well, thank you for letting me, for actually inviting me to come and present the new scope for the Point project. What we're talking about here is I-15. We have a roughly 11-mile section of I-15 that was in between SR-73 or Lehigh Main Street and 123rd South in Salt Lake County, SR-73 in Utah County. That is a section of road that where the Corps left off and where the original I-15 reconstruction in 2001 ended. The pavement is, like I said, 11-mile section. The pavement is in extremely poor condition in Salt Lake County, as you can already heard through several press releases, several road closures, and may have traveled in and out through those several times where the pavement's blown up. That is an indication of a weak pavement, poor joints, and just an old concrete section. So you might add, or excuse me, you might ask, what are the project limits for this particular project? As you know, we had $247 million programmed for this project in the April Commission workshop. What we did is we took and looked at basically a traffic level of service right here on the left. That is existing traffic right now. Well, that's actually 2012 traffic numbers. As you can see by the red there, that represents a level of service F, which is stop and go traffic. I won't go any farther than that. It could be very, very slow speeds. Your yellow, which is level of service D, is less than 65 miles an hour, generally represented by probably 45 to 50 miles an hour, somewhere in that category. Your orangish color here is level of service E, which is very slow speeds, or under 50 miles an hour. And your green is, of course, level of service C, A, B, and C, which is over 65 miles an hour. And essentially a racetrack going down through there. You know, people don't drive 65 from there, so what are you talking about that? So what we did is we looked at this section, looked at where the biggest congestion was, and we can see the red dots right here. Each one of those are the interchanges, and they're running in level service F as well, currently. We looked at these numbers, looked at the $247 million budget, made a determination of where the most congestion was, and what we could do with that congestion. As you can see on the right here, that is the project limits, 123rd South to SR 92, that we focused the $247 million on, and what we could do for that amount of money. And you can see that is all level of service C and D through there. There's a slight error on this slide, maybe some of you've already picked up. These interchange at 146 and interchange at Tippinogas Highway are actually improvements that we cannot afford with the $247 million. They actually represent the additives, which I'll talk about here in just a second. So, what is the project scope? Well, the budget here is $247 million, as I've already stated. The project scope is essentially a 6-lane section from 123rd South all the way to SR 92, Tippinogas Highway. So the project will stop just north of Tippinogas Highway. What we're going to get for that is a new concrete pavement. 2 lanes in Utah County up to the county line, from SR 92 to the county line. An additional
I read that as 6 new lanes.
Excuse me, 2 new lanes, yeah, not 6.
that would be
That's
nice.
a lot of Yeah, that would, I think we'd be talking a double-decker freeway at that point.
Okay.
Right. So that represents the new configuration on the right side here. 2 lanes also northbound from the county line to 146 South. And 1 lane southbound through there, and then 1 lane each additional direction from Banger Highway to 123rd. Also, what we can get for that $247 million is a new bridge at 146 South, which will facilitate the addition of a SPUI in the future. As you know, this is a critical intersection right here for the new, well, for the prison, or if they move the prison. Bluffdale as well has quite a development, quite a lot of plans going there in that southeast quadrant. That's where the Porter Rockwell Boulevard takes off from 146 and goes down and will eventually cross Front Runner River and join with Mountain View Corridor. So we've already met with Bluffdale and talked extensively about their plans down there, and they are very concerned with the fact that we cannot afford a SPUI at this location. I'm sure you'll hear about that in the future. Okay, also, excuse me, one more thing on this. What Lyle's going to talk about here in a few minutes is a Maverick. This came to Region 2, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, requesting permit to construct a new station, very large convenience store gas station on the southeast quadrant. That conflicted with our realignment of the frontage roads in that area for the future. Region 2 was very good, very quick to recognize that as an issue. Went to Lyle, and Lyle and Region 2 have been working extensively with Maverick to try and get a property trade and facilitate them building in the proper location, which will allow us to build our, realign the frontage roads around them and make that make that whole thing work without having to go back and buy a brand new gas station later on. Well, that is, I want to go forward, there we go. What we have here is our preliminary additives. We are very early in the process here. These additives basically represent just a couple of people, myself and some help from Region 2 and Region 3, looking at what we can do if the money stretches. Randy talked earlier about getting very good bids right now. We hope that's to continue next year. And these are not in no particular order right now. We've not vetted those with the regions and settled on a priority. Number 1 is a new SPUI at 146 up top there. Second would be, these are not in no particular order. Second would be a new bridge at Timbernose Highway to facilitate a future SPUI. Or even a new bridge to actually widen and increase the volume of the DDI to take care of that congestion underneath that on that stretch of road. The next thing would be a new SPUI there at SR 92. And finally, additional lanes going south. And as you can see, I guess we can go back to the previous one. As you can see, the future congestion right now is southbound, right here, from 92 down to Lehigh Main Street. So that would probably be the #1 priority for increasing capacity down there. The problem is you increase your pavement width, you have a hard time dealing with it at the interchanges. So you almost have to do those in conjunction with each other. Right now, our preliminary project goals and objectives, again, these are very preliminary. We just haven't really vetted these with a lot of folks. Project goals: transparency, integrity, safety, and value. Those are the 4 catchwords that we've come up with this time. The objectives of the point: improve mobility. We talked about that. Widen the 6 lanes from SR 92 up to 123rd South. Realign the east frontage road at 146, that goes along with the Maverick. A new bridge at 146, which facilitates the widening for the future SPUI, and improve the ATMS infrastructure throughout. And that should probably say signing an ATMS, kind of goes without saying. Added value, these are our project additives that we've just discussed. Again, new bridges at SR 92, new SPUI at SR 92 and 146, and extra pavement width as far south as possible. I need to mention right here, this extra pavement width doesn't come without a cost with the pavement quality. That, talking to the Region 3 pavement engineers, that pavement's degrading quite quickly and in need of rebuild as well. So adding on an additional lane without doing full pavement width is going to facilitate you coming back and reconstructing that pavement. pretty short period of time. Improved quality. Quality is gonna be a big driver on this project. We want a really good 40-year concrete pavement. We want a pavement that's hopefully will not blow up in the future when those joints fill up. We have to have develop a strategy and some different design details to make sure that doesn't happen. Also have a quality design, goes back to the design details. Make sure all the interchanges are designed properly and most efficiently. Make sure the pavement's designed properly and all those details are in place along with the structures. Like not to have a bump at the bridge abutments. We'll be working on that as well. And again, 100-year bridge. The last thing we have is efficient MOT as a point objective. Really only 2 ways to get down to Utah County. Well, I should say 3. You got Traverse Ridge Road going up over the top. You all know the issues with that road and getting people moved that way. And you have Redwood Road, and you have I-15. So MOT and clear detour routes, alternate route signing, those sorts of things are going to be key to this. Great public involvement, getting the message out there of what's going on with the project and where people can go to avoid any congestion is going to be key to that. And proactive timely communication all the time, both the traveling public, to yourselves, to local officials, that sort of thing. We will be maintaining the existing capacity on that road, on I-15 throughout the construction. There will obviously, during peak periods, there will obviously be times when we'll have to narrow that down to do work. That'll be at off-peak hours and those sorts of things.
You'll still have the HOV.
We'll still have the HOV. That is my intent right now. That is yet to be determined though for sure. We'll have to see how that goes. Whether we can keep the, the tolling part of the express lanes. Obviously will have to be looked at because that may have to be taken offline to facilitate the construction. So we'll have to look at that whole dynamic and how that's going to work in concert. Preliminary schedule. Well, coincidentally, we selected a program manager just a couple days ago. Dal's in the audience. We selected HNTV to be our program manager, and Dal's the project manager. He is.
Does he have any experience building?
Yeah,
You know, that was my primary concern was his experience level with I-15 down in Utah County. But
He'd throw a stone in his old office.
Right, exactly. Very happy to have HNTV and Dal on board to help us out this project. They are working right now. We'll be getting them on board as soon as possible. As you can see from the rest of the schedule, we have a very tight schedule of getting this thing advertised. We want to take full advantage of next year's construction season, which means getting the design builder going in late April, early May, getting them NTP and getting them going on the corridor. The selection will happen sometime late March, and hope to have construction complete in the winter of 2015. That's the preliminary schedule right now. Interstate 15 to the point. Any questions?
So at this point, design build, any differences in the way you see that being procured?
Well, short answer, no. We obviously will take lessons learned from all of our recent design build projects, the core project and all the recent projects. It'll be best value award. We are still working out all the details on that. Like I said, we're very early in the process. We have really yet to sit down with Dal and the rest of the leadership and really discuss, okay, what is the best way to deliver this project and make this thing happen?
But nothing decided yet in terms of like fixed price, best value, or fixed.
Those are things that they're gonna work through those details.
Correct. Yeah, correct. And like I
And
said,
we'll be continually back with the commission talking through those values.
You described on the 40-year concrete, we don't want those to blow up. You said something about, is it joints, or what's the technology you're referring to?
well, what's happened is the concrete expands, as you know, at a certain rate. What happens, we have control joints cut in the concrete. That's those little, saw cuts you see when you're driving down the road. Over time, those compress and are eliminated. Concrete expands to the point where they're no longer there, and then it keeps expanding. It keeps expanding, and that's what happens when the concrete will blow up those joints. Interestingly enough, Region 2 went out and cut a bunch of new joints in as well as a very large joint. As you're driving down, you'll notice there's probably about a foot wide joint they've cut in, filled with asphalt. To
Is that where my
stop that.
tire goes in?
Yeah.
That's the reason my car disappeared.
They're pretty smooth, actually, on those ones right there. But that was an effort to alleviate that stress on the concrete pavement and allow that concrete to expand.
Is this on our new core project?
No, this is on the old
pavement. Okay, so we're not having any sort of issues on the 40-year on that piece, okay, good.
No, and it's really interesting that the last time they did have a blow up, it blew up one of the joints. They actually cut the joint in, and 2 weeks later, it closed up and blew up. So it's really amazing to think that how much that concrete can expand, especially on that long stretch. A lot of it has to do with putting in cast-in-place concrete barrier, very deep footings. It kind of locks everything in place. Putting in the big footings for the overhead signs, that locks everything in place. Curbs, different things like that, all lock the concrete in place and do not allow it to expand. So we'll be looking extensively at that, trying to solve those problems.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Tim. Just one thing to add, while we were developing the limits of this project, we were looking at the traffic and trying to decide where do we stop and where do we start. We realized we didn't have the money to go the entire way. When we settled on these limits, we communicated that with our partners at MAG and the local communities in Utah County, and they wrote us a letter with some concerns about the limits, of course. They would like to see us move further south. So they would like to see us go all the way to 2100 north. And they see that as the congestion still. So as Tim mentioned, we will be looking further south as the project develops to see what kind of funding we have. So back to the core, when we were there, we were looking at lengths again, and we were able to extend it south to Spanish Fork. So we're looking at that similar thing. We'd like to finish the whole thing, but we realize that 247 just won't get us there.
Shane, what do we think preliminary, how much it would take to get down to 73?
350, another 350 million.
Another 350 or
An
250?
additional $350 million.
If you look nothing for Terry, I'm not kidding.
Terry's fantastic at that, for sure. Yes. That section from 92 south is it's a tough section. There are 4 or 5 bridges in there. It's pretty narrow. There's some right-of-way needs. So it's a tricky little section right there. So.
Also the nexus of all the growth in northern Utah County.
Yes.
So. Okay, let's move on. Item 7, planning and programming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'll be covering items under 7, and first of all will be 7A-1. This is STIP Amendment number 10. These are programming funding adjustments at final voucher. We have 3 projects that have reached construction complete and are beginning the closeout process, and they have available funding that we'd like to remove and reprogram. We turn the page just back 1. You can see a list of these projects. We have it on the I-82 bridges near Echo Junction, I-215, 33rd South to 43rd South, and I-70 County Line to Belknap interchange. There's bridge on-off funding, just over $534,000 on the first one, just under $800,000 of IM on the second one, and just over $2.7 million of IM on the third one. So we'd like to seek approval to transfer the funding into those programs for your pre-program rate.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on these? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is 7A-2. These are programming funding adjustments at award. This is due to bids that we received that have been good bids, as Randy mentioned earlier today. Those have been averaging just about 13%. And so there's a list on the page back. We have the SR 172, 3100 south of 201, SR 201. There's 700,000 NHS funds that we'd like to return back to be reprogrammed. And then also the I-215 SR 201 to North Temple. There's just under $1 million of NHPPIM that we'd like to return back and reprogram. So we'd like to seek approval to make these funding adjustments as detailed.
We need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item is under tab 7A-3. This is a bridge program funding transfer, funding adjustment. The UDOT Bridge Group is requesting approval to transfer $530,000 of available balance of the state bridge funds to the 2014 Bridge Preservation Program. Within that program, they would put this on a project. It would be the I-215 725, that's what it should be, not 700 east, over I-215. This project will allow them to do some pothole patch work on the deck, apply a polyester concrete overlay to the deck, seal parapets, perform minor substructure rehabilitation. And this polyester concrete overlay is a preservation treatment with anticipated 25-year life. Turn a page, a couple pages back. First page back is the location of where this is. 2 pages back just gives some examples of some of the issues that they're dealing with the structure. Some potholes and deck condition. So we'd like to seek approval to transfer $530 of the state general fund bridge funds from the bridge program unspent fund to the 2014 bridge preservation program to do this work.
I so moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? So Bill, where on this picture is that, is it a sound wall that was falling or something that we've been dealing with?
I'm thinking that's a bent.
What's that?
It's just holds up the structure of the bend.
Concrete
The
column
column.
in the middle.
Yeah.
Column in the middle, yeah.
So, but where is that? Is it
If you look at the picture, as you're looking down the roadway, it's the bottom left-hand corner. I believe that would be on that structure that's going up the column, on the second page back on the pictures.
Yeah, that was,
In the center of the, that looks like that's where that is to me.
right. Polyester. Who knew? We're using polyester on the road.
I had a suit made out of that once, it's very strong.
Where's Mr. Matthews?
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item is under tab 7A-4. This is the US 189 Utah County line, the state park eastbound new rehabilitation project. We drove this yesterday. On this road, the westbound direction, they were able to take care of with the funding that was in the current project, but we're not able to get to the eastbound. What happened is they were doing this project, was originally scoped to be a preservation job, and the plan was just to do a minor rotomill and overlay. But during the construction, it was discovered that the pavement was in worse condition than anticipated. It was a weak layer, about 4 inches down, that as they did more research, went both directions. And so there wasn't enough funding to do both sides. So with the current project and funding, the region was able to complete the westbound direction as a rehabilitation project. And the region would like to complete the eastbound direction by adding a new project and funding it. The recommended funding would be $1.75 million. And the new project balance, it's available from balance in Region 3's de-obligation fund.
As purple.
Purple book, yeah. So this was in the preservation or Orange Book program. The work became beyond that extent for the one side, so that one side would need to pull out and put it into the rehabilitation program, and then the other side would be a new project in the rehabilitation program. There are some pictures that show project location, but I think most importantly, just some of the issues that they were seeing with that pavement. I like the upper left-hand one where you show the shovel can just lift up the concrete rather than the asphalt.
Strong shovel.
And so there was that weak layer they were concerned about.
Either weak pavement or strong shovel.
So we'd like to seek approval to add the US 189 Utah County line state Park eastbound project in the amount of $1.75 million to the pavement rehabilitation program and move the current preservation project into the rehabilitation program.
We have a motion.
Move for approval as described.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion, comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item is under 7A-5. This is the Cove Drive, Cedar City. This is the request is for a new project. This has an interesting story. The original funding on this project was SDP Small Urban Funds. These were exchanged at 85 cents on the dollar for state funds, which we did several commissions ago. The project finished under budget and the state funds were removed to be reprogrammed. There was $161,000 that were removed. Region 4 is requesting to return approximately $100,000 in funding that was removed from this project when it was closed to address issues that recently showed up that were not addressed in the original scope of work. In the original project, the right-of-way limits required a 2-to-1 slopes, which are now washing onto the roadway during storm events. The city would like to use the $100,000 to install small retaining walls to address the issue. Felt like this was the right thing to do on this one, so we thought we'd bring it to the commission to get this project added to the STIP. And so we'd like to seek approval to add the Cove Drive retaining wall project to the STIP.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second.
It's a tie.
Yeah, it's a second, third.
Arm wrestle.
Just pick one. Wait, all right. So, tell us about the wall. How far back off the driveway? Is it right next to the?
I'm not sure how far back they're gonna go, but it is a pretty narrow, being they have the 2-to-1 slopes.
So you're gonna have are you gonna have to cut to get it back off the road first from a safety perspective?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then do it high enough to catch as well, so.
And then any material that did fall would fall on the shoulder, not on.
Oh,
So
so create some shoulder.
creates a
Okay.
shoulder with the retaining wall. Yep.
Any other questions?
That'll be completed before winter.
I'm not sure the time frame on it, I don't know. I'm assuming if they get the funding, they're gonna wanna get right in on it, 'cause I know they're having issues right now.
So it doesn't sound like very long.
It's not a
It's
big
tiny.
project.
It's small.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next item is under tab 7B. This is the approval to send the draft 2014-2019 statewide transportation improvement program to STIP, to FHWA and FDA for approval. This STIP includes the suggestions and results from the April workshop. At the June commission meeting, we were given approval to publish the draft STIP. A notice was given in local newspapers with information on who to contact and how to comment. Looking at that, we had 10 locations that the STIP was placed physically that people could go to see, as well as 5 websites, which was UDOT's website as well as MPO's websites. The draft STIP was out there for public comment from June 29th through August 3rd. We were then to bring it back to the commission with any comments that we received during that public comment period. No comments were received by UDOT or the MPO. And so we'd like to seek approval now to go ahead and send the draft 2014-2019 STIP to FHWA and FDA for their review and approval.
So moved. Second.
The motion is second to approve the STIP, push it to FHWA for their approval. Any discussion?
Good going, Bob.
With our processes anymore, with all the amendments that we do, it's a yearly process as we go, and this to me is a formality we go through to get this STIP right at this point.
It's a lot of, it's it's a lot of projects, and it's amazing how little public comment, but I mean, frankly, it's all part of the technical pieces that build up to this, so it's not like the public hasn't commented, they started to comment with their first complaint. And then each of those complaints builds into this book, so one way or another. Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is under tab 7C. This is just an informational item. A draft capacity project list was developed. This was done in preparation of the legislative interim committee and to begin the process of prioritizing and programming the anticipated FY 2018 TIF funds, transportation investment funds. We're anticipating about $300 million in those funds. A little bit of background on what I've given you is we have in the sheets just behind this, it's the long-range plan. The long-range plan is a 30-year plan that is developed for meeting the long-term capacity needs. It's split up into 3 different phases, phase 1, 2, and 3, each one of those being blocks of 10 years each. We take the long-range plan and we prioritize that through UDOT's prioritization process into categories which include widening existing facilities, new facilities, upgrading existing at-grade intersections, new interchanges on existing freeways, upgrading existing interchanges, and passing lanes. And the reason they're divided up into those different categories so that we're comparing like projects to like projects in the ranking process. On your sheets that you're given, each of the lines that have a number on it on the left-hand side are the original long-range plan line items. And under those that are highlighted in tan are projects that are already funded underneath each of those lines. The lines that are green, that have red font, are the recommended from the region capacity projects that they would like to see move forward. Should note that we received 31 projects from the 4 different regions. The total in the lists that have been given is just about $2.4 billion. So we're not financially constrained, but this is, like I said, a draft and a starting point to take a look and see where these priorities need to be. So we just wanted to get this before the commission so you can see those projects that are out there and what the funding level would be in order to get to them. And again, this is for information.
All right, good information. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Move on to item number 8, the Maverick property trade.
Morning, Commissioners. This agenda item today dovetails nicely with the point project update that Jim Rose just gave you. We're dealing with the 146 South interchange area, the southeast quadrant. Several months ago, we were approached by Maverick, who would have already built a gas station there by now, but not for the help and cooperation of Draper City. They were aware of the project, and when Maverick went in, they to get the development approvals, Draper continued to ask them to come and talk to us first. Eventually, Maverick did come and talk to us, and that's when the project team and I got involved. So basically, if I can have you turn the page over to the map, I'll describe it as we go along. If you can orient it so that north is up, you have to turn the page kind of sideways, so that the green is on the bottom and the blue is kind of pointed up. Maverick has under contract the properties marked A1, 2, and 3 and B1, 2, and 3. And they were going to build a gas station, not just a gas station, but a big truck stop that would service the gravel and quarry trucks that are just to the north at the point. And in fact, they are co-venturing with a liquid natural gas company to provide a different way of fueling those trucks, and which require a tiny bit more property, and they're gonna orient it towards the frontage road to the west. Well, we need to move that frontage road, as you can see Minuteman Drive there, it goes parallel to I-15, north and south, and we need to move Minuteman Drive, the frontage road, to curve around and take it away from that future interchange that we want to build here pretty quickly that connects in with Highland Drive. To do that, you can see we need to go straight through the middle of that proposed gas station fuel stop. So we sat down with Maverick and looked at our options. We had several, none of them very pleasant. We really can't stop them from building if they want to build. We can delay them for 90 days according to the statute, that if we're unable to work out an agreement, they can press forward, demand building permits and build that station. And if we wanted to build this thing right, we would then have to go and take a relatively new station out, and then it would disappear. So, and then the other less pleasant alternative is that because of the cost or the hassle, we could just choose not to build it right and have a less efficient one, keep the frontage road where it is and have it be less effective.
Because this is in the report that Tim gave, isn't this where they were suggesting a spooey?
Exactly.
Now, this configuration will match that proposed design?
Moving Minuteman Drive away from there will allow us to accommodate the design that we want to build.
Okay.
So we sat down with Maverick, and they were very cooperative. Basically, we need the part in green from them. And by moving Minuteman Drive away, we are then able to realign the part that is in blue, except for this part named C1 that we need to acquire from another property owner. So the pieces that they have left there in the middle, the white area, plus the blue area, will allow them to build a different configuration of truck fuel stop. You can see that what they had was a little more rectangular, easier to build on. What they have left is a little irregular and therefore required some creativity. And so what we've come to you for is a land exchange that is, unlike in most times past, we try to get value for value, or we have an unbalanced one where somebody brings the difference in cash. And today we're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to recommend to you that you allow us to do a property exchange that's unequal in land value, but restores the ability, the functionality of the truck stop.
Is this land configuration and the creativity in their design satisfactory to them?
Yes. Yeah, we wouldn't be here otherwise.
Okay.
We wouldn't be here
So
otherwise.
they're all behind this whole.
Yes, they've managed to make it. They did turning radiuses and tried to figure out how to do the configuration, et cetera. It's not as efficient because of the shape of the remainder, which is why we're proposing that they exchange 1.82 acres, which represents the green area, for 2.56 acres of UDOT property, which is the blue area. And the difference there is about 3/4 of an acre. That would be a benefit to them. However, it's really a big benefit to us because we get to build the project the way we want to build it, and we don't have to buy a several $1 million station in the future. And so we're proposing that you authorize us the ability to move forward and explore this trade so that we can preserve this area. And the other benefit is there still gets to be a station in that quadrant. One of our 4 main goals is to stimulate, to advance Utah's economy. The alternative is that we eliminate that station that's not there anymore in the future at great cost to the public. So we believe that this is extremely beneficial, and we recommend approval authorization for us to pursue this trade.
Seems like an elegant solution to me.
Yeah, it really does.
Lyle? Question, is Draper City on board with all this? They're aware of the,
yes,
of the agreement here between the two, and they're satisfied?
Yes.
I'll second Megan's motion. I have a motion and a second. So it's a 40% land premium. So in the sentence in your write-up, you say this is the amount of additional property needed to effectively replace the station Maverick is giving up. But Maverick's not giving up the station, they're just having to move it to a.
Yes, and I would recommend, that's my wording at the last minute.
Yeah.
But after replace, I would insert 2 words, the functionality the station Maverick is giving up.
So, or maybe the keyword is effectively or something, yeah, because it's just a different spot. I mean, this isn't just mom and pop, this is Maverick. I mean, don't we see these guys a lot?
Very often.
And don't we have a long memory?
In both directions. It's typically us taking from that. This is one of the few times that we have an opportunity to collaborate in advance of a project to make sure that we have a mutual benefit.
You know, but I agree. I just, I don't want to hear things like, well, they were just gonna go ahead and build it without calling us. That's just crazy for a company like Maverick not to call us on every single freeway interchange to say, guys, I know you think out about 25 years, let me talk to you about this.
You would be surprised at how little that happens.
Yeah.
We were having that exact same conversation with a predominant church in the state and several other major landholders.
They have a longer term view.
But it's the same question.
Right.
You know, they're starting to think, okay, we need to start, before we build our buildings and purchase land, we need to accommodate UDOT's future growth prospects.
You know, Jeff, that's a good point, but as we're finding out as we go on, it is relatively a new thing for counties to work together, for cities to work together, for corporations to work together, so maybe they're.
Well, we heard that earlier today when,
Right.
When he said Summit County and Wasatch County were not always
Right.
working well together, but they are now.
Now if we can get Emory and never mind.
Now, you mentioned that the property listed here as C1 still needs to be acquired.
That's correct.
So we would acquire that property from a third party and then include that in the property exchange?
C1 and C2.
It would be an
You
orphan
can see,
lease if not.
you can see
Okay, yeah.
the landholder
Is
of
there
A1.
is there any doubt that the landholder for C1 and C2 are landholders?
It's the same landholder as B1 and B2. And
Okay. All right, and that third-party landholder is in agreement with this whole thing?
we believe so, according to Maverick. However, the statute does allow us to effectuate this trade with your approval. The reason why we have to have C1 is you'll notice B1 and B2, and then us acquiring C2 creates an uneconomic remnant.
Right.
There will be no access to it. It'll have very little use or utility to the landholder and the Active
I'm
Commission.
not objecting to it, I'm just saying that hasn't been done yet, and I'm wondering
Like I
what's the
said,
probability that it will be?
I believe it is high. You'll notice that I carefully worded my request to you to authorize the concept of the trade so that we can move forward and clear up these
And
details.
affect that whole thing?
Yes. There are still several moving parts to this deal.
Okay.
So so you still have to get C2 and C1, but we're approving a trade today, we don't know what the price is going to be on C1 or where the C1 funds are gonna come from?
From the project, the point project.
But we don't know either of those numbers yet.
No.
Okay. I mean, procedurally,
But-
or-
we're approving
But
the
they've been
concept.
approved in the project budget.
Right.
Right.
We would still have to buy A2, A3, B2, and B3 with project funds. We're not gonna do that with the trade.
Right.
So that saves funds right there for us to buy C1, if you wanna look at it that way.
So all we're approving today is trading D1. We're not approving trading C1 today.
We're just doing a matter.
Are we approving trading C1 today?
The concept.
Yes, the
The
concept.
concept.
We normally, you guys bring us a budget, you say, here's the money we have, and we're gonna go buy these properties, money, properties. And in this case, we're saying trade property for property, one of the properties we don't have, and we don't know what it's gonna cost.
Yeah, we typically you fund a project, and then once you've funded a project, the department then goes out and follows the acquisition procedure and buys those properties. You don't see us coming back to the commission for permission on those. We use the appraisal process and we purchase those properties.
So
The commission, the difference here is the commission has the authority for exchanges.
Yes.
And so what we're here today is asking for permission to effect that change.
So-
We will, within the project, acquire the right-of-ways needed to, per normal processes.
Okay, so it's not just an exchange. So one is an exchange of land we have. The second is approval to exchange contingent upon acquiring C1.
And Chairman, you identified it. The challenge here is we have to acquire a tiny bit before the horse. In that one case, the challenge is that Maverick is saying, we need a commitment and we need it now because we've already delayed our project by 5-6 months.
So it's a forward trade.
Exactly.
We don't know.
Well,
Ideally, we would want absolutely required all land.
proceed farther with Maverick discussion without this
Yeah.
authority.
Right.
Now, if I'm headed northbound on I-15 and I'm getting off at 146, this location is to.
You're right.
To my right.
Immediate right.
Yeah. Right now, that's a fairly steep wall.
That is A3 and B3.
Yeah.
Where it starts to get
Yes.
topographically challenged.
I pulled it, after I got this the other day, I actually stopped there and looked around and tried to visualize that in my head. Are they gonna have to knock down a bunch of that dirt in order to get enough land? Or
No.
are they gonna build up above a little higher?
No, it's B3 and A3 are where it starts to curve
Right.
up to the UTA's
Future commuter rail line.
Cost
Yes.
us money.
Yes.
It costs us money now, but we have to build that.
Yeah,
anyway.
we'll just
We
leave
gotta
it.
build that anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
I still think it's a good idea.
So do I.
And we don't need
Great idea.
B3 and A3 for the project, they're just uneconomic remnants that we typically acquire at State House.
You buy 'em
property.
anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Maverick got a great deal because they just traded us some uneconomic remnants
For some
pretty
economic.
flat ground right next to the freeway. That's good. Well, remember that next time. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can you just restate what that actual motion will be
The
then?
actual
Is it-
motion was that we are approving the exchange of D1 for A2. No, hold on.
D1 and C1 for
Well, not-
A2, A3, B2, and B3.
But not C1. C1's a separate one. We're gonna say the separate motions will approve the contingent upon acquiring C1. Okay. Just to put that in the proper context.
You can amend my motion to say
Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, I'll get it off of here.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Yeah, you'll have to get with Lyle later and get
that. Don't get a big one.
Okay. Thank you. Item number 9, we're gonna go into some informational items. So the first thing we're gonna do is introduce Russell Robertson from FHWA and get a report.
Thank you for the time. I only have a couple of items to mention on James' behalf. The first, related to James, is he's been selected as the new division administrator in our Florida division office, so he will be moving on in early October.
They didn't get our approval for that.
We didn't.
They do that.
That dies for lack of a second.
Yeah, right there.
So once he goes in October, it'll probably be sometime before we refill that position. In the interim, Arlene Coker, I don't know if you've met Arlene, she's our
Oh, yes.
ADA. She will be acting on his behalf, so something that's going on in our office. Secondly.
So is that Tallahassee?
That is Tallahassee. We have,
Well, he came up from there, didn't he?
he was the assistant division administrator in
So now he's
Tallahassee.
going back as the administrator.
This is a big promotion for James.
Yeah, that's one of the.
Well deserved, he's a great guy.
Yeah, it's a big job in Federal Highway, Florida, Texas, California, so.
And Utah.
New York. And Utah. Utah's a big step.
Much.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, secondly, Federal Highway every other year does a solicitation nationally with transportation agencies for Environmental Excellence Awards. And this year, there were no shortage of nominations for the 10 categories under those awards, and I'd like to present a winner to UDOT, Carlos or whomever, for the category of research for their work on wildlife crossings, structures.
Since we don't have anyone from research here, Corey.
I know Shane was on a contributor as well, but
I had nothing to do with it.
but anyhow, that's for winning that award this year, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Does that include the fencing on IA?
Yep.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to see how that went, we have some really neat photos.
For the work on those I-15 and I-70 and the other kinds of projects that we've done.
And Wildcat, I believe,
Yep.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah, all of those. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And you guys, you've been funding those projects.
Yep,
right.
yep.
It's really been a collaborative effort between us and Utah State and DWR as well. We couldn't have gotten there without our two partners, and FHWA, our third partner there as well.
You know, there were some numbers that we talked about in the past on the number of deer
hits, yeah.
fatalities, deer hits. Is that something we keep track
Oh,
of?
yes.
So
Oh, yeah.
we'll be able to see a trend line on those
Yep.
in the future years?
Yeah, and we're seeing just preliminary results, very good results.
Very good.
Yeah.
They still have maintained way down low, because I know it went like from 70 to 15 or
Yep.
some such numbers. I'm not remembering the right numbers, but a really drastic drop along I-15 and I-70 where we put those.
IA.
Yeah, you could see you could see the fence coming up Harley's Canyon that was put in.
Tim worked with Summit County and Park City on that with Jason, so.
The newspaper,
A lot of good people.
the newspaper talked about, it's gonna be a good,
Oh, I'm sorry.
archery hunt this year, probably somewhat due to, leaving as many alive as you can.
We're saving it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you being here. Okay, last item, commission committee reports. Eddie, can we start with you? Anything? No? Wayne? Commissioner reports?
We didn't have a meeting.
Okay. Light summer? How about you?
Well, I'm on the same right-of-way purchase, and we had no properties to consider for this meeting. But I think we will for September.
We're getting still, I get calls on some, it's just so interesting on the CIB, how many interactions on UDOT projects where, this is just gonna, I don't think it's ever gonna quit. Communities coming in and saying, well, UDOT decided to tear up our streets, we don't have the money to do the piping we would otherwise want to do, blah, 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 and it's UDOT's fault. And no, the hardships imposed by UDOT somehow, not them not saving enough money.
Well, and just to be able to do that type of work before we do our paving projects, it just makes so much sense, and that pavement lasts much longer, and so we really appreciate the CIB helping out there.
Good. Yeah, I got another call from the mayor of Bryce Canyon yesterday, just thanking us, but also wanting more help, but thanking us.
Yeah, because we were having some challenges on time frame for him. I know he wanted us to move a little quicker.
And he still is, but he's seen.
Our Region
a lot
4
of motion.
folks have been down there working with him.
No, he's still, but these interactions are all because of these collaborative efforts on all this funding to get a whole bunch of this stuff done, so especially in the rural areas.
JPAC, Joint Policy Advisory Committee. In the spirit of cooperation, UTA loaded up most of the members of the committee, which are a lot of mayors, transportation officials, and we rode a bus up to Logan. It was a hydrogen bus. It did pretty well. It was nice to drive.
CNG.
CNG, yeah.
Thank you. And then we also saw the Wave, which is an electric bus up there. that the University of Utah is going to use and Utah State. And it's very interesting, it's very quiet. The project was funded by Utah State and USTAR. And then we looked at 10th West, which we'll see next month. Woo, that's a project and a half up there. And it's a bypass for Logan, same kind of what we were talking here. So it was very interesting, and they continue to plan and move together. And Doug, when do you retire? He's been no, he announced his retirement. Sorry.
November.
November. Did you want to add anything to that thing? Because Andrew was the coordinator.
No, I think next, you're gonna have a meeting next month at JPAC, and then in I think October we're going to Provo. So we're trying to hit all the MPOs this year. We went to St. George earlier in the year, so spread the moving around. Yeah, it was we're helping fund the project at the University of Utah with the wave. It's
Yes, right, thank you.
Wireless
Induction.
Wireless
recharging
of the battery. That is a very fascinating technology. It was really interesting to see that. And the way it's been developed at Utah State, creating a really interesting way to provide for the recharging of batteries in vehicles, specifically a bus in this case. But it could be applied to many different kinds of vehicles, delivery vehicles, and a lot of other ways. Really great technology being developed.
So we got a tour of their lab and so forth, but I think they're going to implement it in the University of Utah for this shuttle through the campus.
Right.
They should do that. They should do that at Salt Lake Airport with all those rotating buses that follow the same route over and over.
Well, they mentioned that is a possibility.
Right.
Yeah, anywhere where you got that kind of.
The crossover with UDOT is, if they're gonna do these charging stations, which a lot of cities and towns wanna do, it will impact state roads. And then we're gonna have to discuss where these are, how they charge.
And how do you repair the roads around them and?
Yeah,
from
all
time to time.
kinds of little incidentals.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that was interesting about this, it's very quiet. So they're trying to make a noise with the bus so they don't kill the students when it's running silently, seriously. Because people go across, with their earbuds in, they don't pay attention, and you really can't hear the bus going along. So stay tuned. That's my report.
Danny?
Yeah, the Regional Growth Committee had some informational items that we covered and went and reviewed in its entirety the regional plan review, which was a good discussion. And Wasatch 2040 is wrapping up, and we've got a date of October 29th. The governor will be the keynote speaker at the Salt Palace 2 to 5 in the afternoon. And that is a big document coming forward. It's going to benefit the entire state. But primarily, it's going to bring together all the collaboration we've been working on for the last 40 years into a single document that will be very helpful. And we had the proposed amendments to the regional transportation plan, and 3 of those. And we had a lot of discussion on those. It was a healthy discussion, as a matter of fact. But at the end of the day, the committee voted to send that on to the regional council for approval. So it'll ultimately be coming to us probably next month. That's my report.
D10 will meet next week to approve a resolution to add City of Perkins, Leviticus, Chelsea, and Lee to fix the MPO. This will happen next Thursday, and they sign that and the commission will send it to
That's great.
So they're extending that.
And this is as per from the last census.
Right.
Major metropolitan area.
That's what we are.
Good.
Yeah, New York, St. Louis.
I think someone's used the focus.
Leanne, any items on our commission meeting?
Nope, we're in Logan next month. Chris will do us a good job. Just tell him where you want to go, where you want to stop.
Coming to your turf.
Great.
Mr. Chair.
Shane has another item?
This weekend, we'll be doing our 41st bridge move at the Echo. Tell me the exact location. Echo interchange?
I-84 over Echo County Road. We're introducing a new technology, an innovative technology with synthetic geostabilized.
Geosynthetic reinforcement.
Come on, help out.
Somebody give us a report.
Geosynthetic.
What are you doing up there?
What's that?
What are you doing up there?
Yeah, stand up.
Help me out here. I know it's stabilized dirt.
Yeah, it's basically earth reinforced with like a fabric, and that's how you build up the substructure. And then we'll be sliding the bridge on top of that.
So two very innovative technologies blended in one. There'll be the bridge move tomorrow, and then on Sunday we'll have a workshop with 48 other states coming in to 28 other states that come out.
To actually look at another Utah innovation.
Correct.
That's fantastic, good.
Are you still using Dawn liquid to slide it?
Green or yellow?
No, really.
Yeah,
No,
it's
they're really
so
good.
green.
The bridge move will be tomorrow. What time?
The bridge slide is gonna start at 8 AM tomorrow, promptly at 8 o'clock in the morning.
If any of the commissioners are interested in attending, would you stay afterwards and
Absolutely.
they can let you know and we could facilitate that?
This is up on I-80?
I-84, it's right where I-80 and 84
Oh,
come
80 and
together.
84. Yeah, that's right, okay.
It's just
west of the major interchange there.
Yes.
Or just, yeah, just west.
I think you went up in the snooper basket didn't you, on one of the bridges up there? Didn't structures?
Not there, I was on Highway 40, just up the way here outside of Utah. But I'd sure like to get on that bucket again. Any bridges you're inspecting, let me know.
Any other items of business today for the commission?
That's exciting, good for Utah again.
Great, well, thanks again for attending, and thanks for hosting us in this beautiful place. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Aye.
Aye.